Morning, everybody. 8:06 a.m. Welcome to my channel. Now, yesterday I said pre-market that this is not going to be great price action, and it wasn't. There was some huge divergence yesterday. Even though tech was strong, tech session, it was weaker than the ES's, and you had this push-pull in the markets. So, very, very odd. I was saying it the whole time I was live. There was one trade that I'm noticing when tech is up pretty decent, which it was up over like 1.5% at one point yesterday. Usually that first pullback in the NASDAQ to VWAP gets bought, and it did. That would have been a winner. So then I was looking at the NASDAQ again. Here, I'll show you QQQ. When it pulled back here, okay, I was talking about the 299 specifically in the NQ. Okay. And I was in my community saying I'm looking for a long. I didn't get see how it pushed up and it didn't pull back deeper. I was looking for a pullback to go long. This would have worked as well. Okay. However, what I did here was right in here, I got short when the NASDAQ was pushing up into here. And this, not this one, right here, started to work. Also hitting last week's highs. I was like, this is in heavy supply. The NASDAQ was weaker. And I believe, looking back at this trade, probably should have been no trade. And the reason why is when I entered the short here in the ES, right? Just ES alone, I'm fine with it. I waited for my spot. Okay. The NASDAQ was here, right in between its 15-minute 9 EMA and its VWAP. That is not a place you want to initiate a trade. And when these are not, and that's a rule usually of mine. But I was thinking the NASDAQ's weakness would take down the ES because we were at a liquid level. Okay, but really, whenever I saw this and I was saying it live, I'm like, this is not good because it was playing around. It usually plays, I call this the mini mouth. Well, usually it plays around here. It just plays games and games and games, and it finally broke to the upside, which is why I wanted to get long the NASDAQ. So I took a loss on that, and lesson learned, right? That's why I have rules for a reason. So this morning, my headline was NASDAQ down over 1%. It's pairing some of those losses now, but Samsung had blowout earnings. But the expectations were so high, it didn't meet those, so it sold off, putting AI spending in question. So that's why the markets, specifically the NASDAQ, was hurt this morning. Semis in particular, they're still down 2.75%. And like I said, overall, this market doesn't know what it wants. You could definitely tell that. All right. That's what we're talking about today. Hopefully, there's some price action that's decent today. All right. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. Using market profile and bot profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Okay, that's when I come up with my game plans. Now, every morning, I use my market internals to see where money flows are going. Okay, along with Anchor VWAPs, a little ICT, my weekly gamma flip points I provide in my Discord, along with my weekly expected move indicator in my Discord as well. All wrapped up into one that gives my own proprietary trading system. Okay, now, hopefully you join me every morning, subscribe, set that alert, give you the market story, the market news, technical analysis, and I always leave you with the NASDAQ and the ES scenarios later in the stream. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Now, let's move on to the futures watch list here. VIX is up 1.45%. Crude is up 0.60. Russell's up over 0.5%. Dow's up 0.33. Gold up 0.30. 10-year yields up $0.22. Pretty much flat. ES pretty much flat. Bitcoin's flat. 30-year bonds being sold 0.22. Ethereum down 0.31. Silver down 0.55. And look, Nasdaq was just down when I started the stream 1%. It's getting a little love. I heard some big orders hitting the tape. Not sure what that was, but they were down 1%. Now, this all leads to that dispersion. We'll get into that later. This high dispersion market. Okay. Moving on. I saw Eli Lilly got like some price target raise. So healthcare continues to be um, kind of overbought. But like I said, I'm going to wait. I'm going to stalk. Now, there's some earnings coming up, so that makes it a little like, but we'll see. Okay. Eli Lilly up 1.66%. Microsoft up 1.28. Software is getting love this week. Okay. JP Morgan up 1.20%. Netflix up 1%. Okay. Apple's up 0.81. Amazon up 0.42. Now, laggards. Look at the laggards. Caterpillar, data center build out. Data center build out. This is the data center build out package here. Construction, got basically construction, okay, for data centers. Now, down 1.25. Nvidia down 1.78. Broadcom down 2.15. Intel, notice that's a new one on my list. Okay, Intel's is very heavily weighted in the QQQ, so I had to move that into my list now. All right, down 3%. AMD down 3.4%. Basically 3.5%. Micron down 4.82. Okay, gonna have a hard time Nasdaq getting any kind of lift with those down. Top sectors. Okay, Salesforce. Like I said, software is getting love. Salesforce up 1.65. That's been decimated. Palantir, another one that's been decimated, up 1.48. PepsiCo, the friggin' one that I should have had an alert on when I went to like 137, 136, I should be in PepsiCo right now. That is, again, a mistake. However, I am in a trade in Walmart that's doing very well right now. Okay. I have what I call, it's kind of like from Shadow Trader Peter Resnick, kind of like called a risk reversal. So I basically have, I don't want to get too technical here, but it's a broken wing butterfly. Basically, I'm taking in $1, okay, in a spread. And again, it's advanced, so I'm taking in $1. And what I saw was Walmart. I don't believe it's going to go below 110 in the next like 10 days. Okay. And then yesterday I threw a bull call spread on there. It is doing very well. And Trump actually asked Walmart to lower their prices for barbecue items and stuff like that. And they said they are going to. Okay. PepsiCo again. So that's up 1%. That's doing good. All right. Johnson & Johnson is a stock I'm looking at. Healthcare, right? A bunch of healthcare stocks are getting overdone. All right. They're pushing. Okay. Remember, we'll look at that bullish percent index. It's really getting overheated. Okay. Oracle up 0.88. Look at Chevron and Exxon are getting some love today, up 0.85. Costco. So staples are getting love this morning. Let's see who's not getting love. GE Vernova, data center build out, right? Qualcomm is semi, down 2.18. GE Vernova is almost down 2%. Visa had a monster week last week. That is down 2.35. Okay, moving on to sectors. The leader is healthcare. Now, healthcare is definitely getting overheated, like I said. Okay, it is real overheated. Eli Lilly and all those names getting love, right? It's also, remember, a safety play, but there is some earnings coming. Earnings season's coming. We always start off with financials. Now, energy's up 0.87, staples up 0.5%, financials up 0.36. Notice everything is up. This is where this market's nuts. So right now we're starting off, again, everything is up at tech. Let's go down. Who is lagging? Look at the technology down 1.27, semis down 2.68. So again, that's going to show ES stronger than the NASDAQ. Are we going to keep buying this dip? I don't know. And it makes the market just a pain in the butt to trade. Okay? It's just annoying because it causes this big, big divergence. Okay? Now, moving on to economic calendar. Let's do it. All right. So, today, ADP employment change at 8:15. That should have just landed. Let me just refresh this. That should have landed. Let's go back to today. Any bond? Not really. Okay. I guess it didn't come out yet. All right. What was I talking about earlier was the AI boom. Assess the AI boom. Samsung um, operating profit, which is almost 20 times higher than a year ago, but it dropped like 6%. Freaking crazy. 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 Okay. That's basically what it says here. Stock fell as volatility returned. The chip makers, after strong earnings from Samsung Electronics, left investors expecting even more, while bonds slipped as Brent crude headed for its biggest gain in over a week. Okay, let's look at Trump's schedule today. Let's see. He's in Turkey. President participates in a rival ceremony greeting with the President of Republic of Turkey. That's 7:15 a.m. Oh, but that's 2:15. I'm sorry. That's 2:15 local. President participates in Arizona at 3 p.m. Okay, bilateral meeting 3:15. So I don't really want to be around if he's talking and trade. Hopefully I'm not. I'm done for the day. Okay. Let's just look at what the juice. Let's see here. Trump meets with Turkey Prez 12:15. So am I reading this right or wrong? 12:15. Maybe that's local to Turkey. Yeah. So I'm looking at that wrong. So this is all happening 7:15, 8 a.m., 8:15, 12 o'clock. So 12 o'clock. Hope I'm done. All right. Let's go to some news here. Wall Street warms to SpaceX ahead of Nasdaq 100 inclusion. I wonder who is kicking out of the Nasdaq 100. That's going to be heavily, so I'm probably going to have to put that up on my list, SpaceX, because it's already a $1 trillion company. So that's going to have heavy weighting. Let's see what else. Walmart rolls back barbecue staple prices. See, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, let's see here. It says Synopsys to cut chip fab manufacturing control software and shift to AI design. All right, here we go. Futures tied to the tech-heavy Nasdaq dropped on declines in chip stocks over concerns about the sustainability of the AI-driven rally, despite strong results from Samsung, while SpaceX shares dipped ahead of their Nasdaq 100 debut. South Korean shares closed sharply lower as the Solve and Samsung shares deepened doubts over how long the AI-led rally can last. Japan's Nikkei too closed 2% lower as semiconductor-related heavyweights fell. In Europe, shares were little changed as gains in consumer-related stocks offset a sell-off in AI-linked stocks. All right. There's the Eli Lilly. JP Morgan raised the target price to 1400 from 1300. GE Aerospace, Dawa Capital Markets raised its target price to 392 from 301. Alrighty, I think we're done there. Let's move over to some breath here. Actually, first, let's start with the dispersion spread. Jesus. I'm telling you, folks. Look at these spread over as how long it's been tracked. It's never been this insane. It gapped up yesterday. And you can see it. I talked about this is a stock picker's market right now. There's pockets and stories with individual stocks that are super volatile, but the overall market, you can see here, right? This is the SPX in a line chart. It's not going anywhere. But individuals, right? Just look at Rocket Labs real quick. Look at that move. Boom. Is our market doing that? Boom. No. Right. Let's look at something like SanDisk. Just boom, boom, and look where it's coming. Okay. Intel's got a little better setup there, but Micron, look at Micron, and now it's starting to fall. Right. 937 right now pre-market. Right. These little stocks like ASTS, look how volatile that is. G Vernova, look at that. Boom. Our market didn't just rip up like that. Look at our market. It's just not doing much. Hence that dispersion spread. It's at, now, like I said, the timing is not easy. Okay. The timing is not easy. So whenever this goes up and now again, this is at all-time high. So there's not like a much of resistance here. Right. I think if it returns back to here, we're going to get a correction. You just can't have the markets do all forever. Forever, no. Nothing lasts forever. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that again. Let's really quickly, bullish percent index here. 62% on buy signals on the S&P. And the Nasdaq, right, got a little love yesterday, but not this morning, right? So they're middling, basically 50%. Okay, the one I'm looking at is healthcare. That, my friends, every time you come up here, 81%, let's round it, 82% of stocks in healthcare are on buy signals. You can see the little RSI is not oversold, overbought yet. The last time we were overbought was here. And look at that. That wasn't even, that's at 64. Right? But you every time, boom, 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 you could stay there. And this was a real deep dive. Boom, boom, right? So this is going to get corrected. Okay. That's one I'm looking at. Financials is also getting overheated. However, the financials I can't mess with. Look at that, 84% on buy signals. Why? Because they're all reporting earnings. This could be earnings run up. So I don't want to fight that. Okay. Let's look at the breadth. 20-day moving average, 66% over a 20-day moving average. Now, these seems to be in lockstep, the 20 and the 50, interestingly enough. 68% over the 50-day moving average. So we're starting to get into, I would say, the 70% once you get into there. Yeah, if that lines up with dispersion, yeah, that's probably going to be something I look into. All right. All right, let's move on. We're going to go to our market internals. And we'll do the market internals recap here. All right, so yesterday, tech, right, was over 1% at one point, firing on all cylinders. And then it kind of turned a little bit, right? Look at the internals. Look how divergent the markets were. Equal weight was just not strong in the beginning, okay? Tried to go negative right there and got caught. And he's just not going to go down. The top 5 sectors are all green. You're not going to go down much. Hence why I wanted to go long the NASDAQ. My setup didn't come. If I got in, I was going to get in. I was talking to my community at 29930. That would have worked. That would have worked. That would have hit my target. But that would not have been on the typical setup. You know, in retrospect, could I have entered when I said it? I said it was a sneaky long. That would have worked. All right. So basically, strong internals, right? You just don't go down, right? They weren't. Let me clarify this. These were not super strong internals. Let me just say that. All right, 60, 70 is not strong at all. But as long as you stay over zero, you're not going to go down much. Okay, let me clarify that. Daily charts. Good old daily charts. Now, I was talking about this in my community as well, which I said makes this market difficult to just get a grip on. Why? Well, we're in a daily supply zone. Remember I said, once you go in here and there's a trend line, right? You don't have much room. You don't have, especially if the market's not ripping on all cylinders, which it was not, it's going to have a hard time pushing higher. And it did. It wasn't ripping, right? That's why I shorted. And my thing I talked about earlier was the Nasdaq was basically in the middle of its range when I'm shorting the ES, and that was, I usually don't like to do that, and I paid for it. I could have went break even. My trade was actually working. It looked like it was going to fall, and I was like, all right, looks like it's going to work, and I wound up paying for breaking one of my rules. Okay, where are we at now? 750 40s. We're right at the midpoint of yesterday. Pretty much. Disgusting. This market's disgusting. I say it every day. Disgusting. Okay? Daily supply. is not an easy place to get long. It's just not easy. Okay? Now, futures. Futures. Remember I said, ooh, all right. All right. All right. Okay. All right. That's my Denzel. Uh, Remember overlap and said, now finally we took out this daily supply in ES. Now we have another daily supply to deal with. Having a hard time. And look, there's two back-to-back weekly highs as well. Even makes it stronger. Okay? We're trying to resolve this. We couldn't even took out the high of yesterday's highs. Getting some love now. This is just starting to turn into a balance area right here. From around 74, 78 to about 7,600. That's our balance area right now. Okay? Like I said, look at this chart. There's nothing going on. It's really not. But then individually, the stocks are going nuts. Okay? So, Q's. Daily supply in yesterday. Look, came in it, got some selling. Big daily demand down here, got some buying. And you basically have a wedge, right, forming. And it's disgusting. You're in the middle of this crap. Okay, that's what I'm saying. The indexes are in horrible shape, but the individual stocks you can do stuff with. Okay, where are we now? 716.50. You're gapping down. Right? Right here. Gapping down. Okay, let's look at the futures. Now, futures, where are we? In daily supply. Getting a little wicky here. Okay, maybe an equal high here. But look, two back-to-back weekly highs. And you're starting to form a balance area as well. Okay, just not great. Nothing exciting. Okay, now I'll show you real quick Walmart. Walmart finally gave me a little trigger here. Want to notice something here. So, Walmart, what did it do? Right? Hit its 2025, I'm loving this, anchored VWAP. I noticed a lot of stocks that test that bounce. So that's the 2025 anchored VWAP. And when I saw it come here, I was like, okay, all right. Because I was looking to get long in here. I was like, not yet, not yet. And then it went whoop. Right there. I was like, all right, that's worth it. That's worth it. And now we're up to 111.77. We're up in here now. So I think Walmart's going to look the bottom. And what if we start to fall a little bit? People are going to flock to staples. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this. We will have to see. Now, moving on. Hourly charts. Hourly charts. Okay. Now we are, okay, in this ascending wedge. It's not compressing fully yet, but you have to recognize it. Let's put the hourly charts up here. You have to recognize it. When I have multiple touches, that's when I'm like, all right, this is now has to be on my chart. Okay, because look, this is when price action was a little more volatile, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touches on the upside. So obviously, the market's respecting this line, right? And then you have this part. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then another touch, right? Now, it's going to close eventually somewhere down the road. Now, but look at the overhead supply we have here in the ES. It's just not easy to cut through it. Okay? So, most traded price of the week now is around 75.92. 7,600 area. That's what I'm saying. Look at the overhead supply. This is not easy, folks, to come up here. Now, if we take out that swing high, can we move up here? Sure. It's going to be hard if tech's weak, right? So that's basically what I'm looking at. Look, we're over the most traded price of the month, 75.44. We're at the most traded price of the week. We're inside ultimate balance. This is a wide ultimate balance, but I consider it an ultimate balance. Okay? Not easy. Not easy. Yesterday could have been a no trade for me yesterday. Really should have been just keep your powder dry. Right? So, look at the NASDAQ. It is not the same. And in the NASDAQ, I do have a channel. Look at that channel. Right? That's been kind of honored. Right? Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. From the top, boom, boom. So it's in no man's land. It really is. This Kospi in Asian markets that like sell semis off, it really is affects our markets. It really does. And look at this. Look at this drop. Boom, 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 boom. That does not exist in the ES. Now, if this is sustainable, I want to probably be short the NASDAQ today. Okay. Now, there was a poor structure right here that it took care of today, this morning. Okay. And there's an equal low down here. 29330. 29330. That mark is looking like if it can hold under the 297s. Remember, 297s is a very pivotal level. Okay? If this can find acceptance and keep holding here, that makes this move. Ooh, boy. Okay? Ooh, boy. We'll have to see. Now, remember, the wide ultimate balance here is from 300 down to 297. This area here, okay? And now it's been running through it very fast, okay? So if we let's put a profile on it. It's look, you're gonna see it here, okay? The quickness that this area has been moving through here. Let's see here. Well, it's showing obviously on my most traded price of the week here. And it is showing heavy volume. So even though there's this in price action, it's been swiftly moving through, but there is some volume there. Okay, so I can't say that. That's not true what I was talking about earlier. Let's get this thing off the screen. Why is this not letting me? Hold on. Why is it not letting me? There we go. Let me move it to here. Let's see. All right. Not the best example. Let's get that off. 297. That's your level to look at in the NASDAQ. All right. Let's do market profile, volume profile. I'm about to get at myself out of here. Let's do it. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. Let's look at these together and we do the market profile, volume profile. Clear, 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 clear level here. Okay. But doing us no favors by being in the midpoint of overnight, close to the midpoint of yesterday. Okay. Let's get into scenarios, long and short trade scenarios in the ES. First thing we're going to do, we are going to break out the session. Boom, 30-minute bars. Okay. Okay. Now, obviously some levels to talk about. Let's get my marker out. Here we go. All right, so obvious level 7601, 7602. I call that more of a confluence high, overnight high, yesterday's highs. Okay. This overnight session, we are close to, it doesn't matter anymore. We were close to 100% net short. This market's bouncing. Okay. That doesn't help us too much. All right. Now, the most traded price of the month, 75.44. And our most traded price of the week now is around like the 75.90s. So this area basically. So that's our playground. 7,600 down to 75.44. That's the playground today. I think we stay in that playground. Okay. I think we stay in the playground, and let's get into scenarios. We're going to start with shorts. There's a lot of overhead supply here. Okay. Now, what would I like to see? This market push up, okay, into yesterday's most traded price, the most traded price of the week. Okay. Now, you could fail right there. So let's say you come up, reject, come back, test the 75.93s, you short that. Target overnight lows, 75.63s, then yesterday's lows, 75.52s, and then maybe ultimate, and the most traded price of the month, 75.44s. Now, you could also come up here, take out that yesterday's highs, sweep it, come back into range, that's also a short, and the same targets. Okay? The same targets. Longs. Okay? I am not excited about any longs up here. Okay? But I will give you one scenario. If this market was to rip, take out all that supply, then find some footing, acceptance, pull back to the 7600s, that maybe is where I get a long. Do I think that happens? I don't know how likely that is. Okay? But intraday, I'd be looking for that. I need this buyers to take out that supply for me. Okay? Now, longs. Major demand down here. Okay? You have the most traded price of the month down here, 75.44s. Okay? If you come out, take the overnight lows out. Okay? Into this demand. It really depends. If this happens quick and you don't even touch yesterday's lows, you come back into the overnight range with the higher low, then you can go long. Feel free to target the 75.93s. See if we can get the 76.01s, 02s. If this happens quickly, take out the overnight lows. Boom. Take out the yesterday's lows, 75.52s. You have the month-to-date anchor VWAP right there. And 75.44s as your support. So any move down here that is, you get some recovery with a higher low and the internals are not that weak, you could find a nice long. Target 75.90s. All right. These have to come quick. I don't want the market just grinding lower down there. Can it happen? Yes, but that's what I'd like to happen. Okay. All right. NASDAQ. Let's look at the NASDAQ together. Total different story. Okay. I don't like when markets are like this. When they're not correlated. I don't like it. And yesterday, usually there's a time when markets are divergent. They eventually line up. Yesterday, the ES and the NASDAQ never got together on the same page. Today, it's looking like we're going to do the same thing. But this is, remember, pre-market. All right. So let's get into the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ. And we're going to start off breaking the session out, right? Maybe we open this up a little better. Okay. All right. Now, let's see what we have going here. Just as far as like levels, we know 297 is the most traded price of the month. It's a very big level. Acceptance below that level is bearish. Notice the overnight VPOC is around 29650 right there. We are finding acceptance. We're on it now, but this is acceptance below it, and that's bearish. Okay? That's a little feather in the cap for bears. Remember, the most traded price of the week is at 303. 300. I'm sorry, 30,000. 30,000. That's all the way up here. Okay? And we have overhead supply. Now, first thing, we're gapping down. You always want to mark off the gap fill. 29776, yesterday's lows. Okay? What else you want to mark off? Well, happens to be the overnight midpoint 50% retracement is basically the same level. So that becomes important. Okay, 50% retracement and gap fill are together. That might be a short, okay, to people. So this you have to respect. This is people's behavior, right? We know the most contracts traded are down here. Okay. Now you have also a bearish imbalance to the profile. Whenever you have a profile that gets thin and then you get acceptance down here, right? You do have an excess low, so I can't say it's fully like it doesn't have a tail. It does. Okay. Whenever you usually have that, you can expect lower prices. However, we do have a tail. So you do have this tail. You notice this tail, this excess. So maybe that is the bottom temporarily. I don't know. Remember, we did have that equal low that could get touched. Remember that 29328 down here? That is very susceptible. Okay, very susceptible. So let's get into scenarios. And I am going to start off with shorts, playing off the 297. So what do we have here? We have overhead supply. We do have an excess put in the overnights. Okay, you do have excess, this little tail. We're at the major level, 297. We have supply overhead. We have a gap fill overhead. So what would I like to see? Let's say we push off, fill the gap, 29776, and the 50% retracement of the overnight, and we get a little resistance. Right now, it's early that we're over temporarily the 297s. That's fine. If you get a swift rejection and a lower high, and internally, whoa, outflows are coming out of tech, this is where you can expect this move to come through 297. Now, if you come back through the 29650, which is the overnight VPOC, this is where it gets swirly here, right there. Because if you come through that level, you're going to hit the overnight lows, 29557s. Now, you do have support here at the 29522s. But this can get really nasty. You see Micron, Intel, SanDisk, those kind of leaders. It could go down to that equal low down there, 29328s. It could get nasty. Real nasty. Now, if you want conservative, okay, all you care about is acceptance below 297. So let's say we did this, whatever we did, and we did this, and we start to do this. Oh boy, find acceptance. And one retest of the 297s, that's your short. That's when you take out yesterday's, overnight lows, 29557s, and see if you can hit the other targets I just talked about. Okay? So that's the area I'd like to be short. I don't think it's going to be easy trade, but that's what I'd like to see there. Now, longs. Okay. Longs. Now, what could you expect? If you get a swift, right, like a gap and go, take out that overnight low. Boom. Test the 29522s, the bottom of this demand zone. And let's say you sweep, whoop, You get a little recovery, lower high. Now, this is only for my case. Internally, I go, ooh, we're not that weak. Then you target 297. Maybe you want to hold a runner there. All right. The other one is, let's say we come up, people buy the dip, and we start to push up, right? We fill the gap. We hit the 50% retracement of the overnights. Okay, I want to see this taken out, that level right here, the 29820s. I want to see that taken out. Take out the supply for me. And then guess what? What I want to see? A nice pullback to around the 297 area to go long. Now we target 29974 as the overnight highs. Okay. That's it, folks. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's it. Let me give you my overall outlook for this morning. Okay. In the ES, let me just share it with you. Okay. Just to recap. In the ES, our levels, remember, possible balance area is 7600s down to the 7544s. That's the playground I believe we're in. A lot of overhead supply. Okay. So I feel that's the playground. Remember, we're not gapping down. ES is relatively stronger. The weakness is concentrated in technology. Okay. Now, NASDAQ. We just went over it. Okay. Most traded price of the month is 297. Acceptance below it is bearish. And we have that equal low down there, 29328s. Okay. If we accept price back over 297, we could possibly go back up. So 297 is a very important level. Okay. Smash the like button if you enjoyed that analysis. That'd be much appreciated. As always, hopefully you join me everyone. Subscribe to that alert, give you the market story, market news, economic calendar, and technical analysis. And I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in NASDAQ and ES futures. Okay, now if you want more in-depth coverage, I will be going live. Okay, go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. I should be going live around 9:45 a.m. Please come join me. Please, please, please. All right. Now, everybody, we have a plan. We have a process. These markets are not easy. Okay, to execute a trade on. I feel like I can always read every day, but to execute a trade on when they're so disconnected, okay, it's not easy. Got to be patient. In some trades that you might look like yesterday, going, ooh, this could be a short. Yesterday, yesterday I said, oh, this pullback to view up, and the Nasdaq's probably viable, but I'm not sure. It went up and worked. I said after that in the ES, I go, ooh, this is probably a sneaky short. That worked. Was it a setup that I saw that was amazing? No, but they worked. Right? In the past, that would send me off into a tailspin because I'd be like, see, I'm right. But you got to be careful with that. Okay? You got to be careful. Know your setup versus this is just could happen. Because in the long haul, you want to take more trades that you've seen before. If it gives you a winner for one day and you're like, well, I mean, I kind of jumped in, is that repeatable? That's what you want to concentrate on. Because usually, green day means good, red day means bad, right? So just be careful, all right? Just be patient. All right, everybody. Everybody have a great day. Remember, no trade's a trade, okay? And if I see you in my Discord, please come. Please come join me. I won't steer you wrong. If not, I'll see you right tomorrow.